Hello, we are Johannes Schwenk and Alex Turek, and we will be discussing Norway's economy, banking industry, and Torvald's relation to both. We will start with Norway's economy, then transition to the banking industry, we'll continue with Torvald's occupation, and finally we will end with discussion questions. Norway's economy from 1850 to 1900 can be separated into two segments. At first, Norway experienced a time period of significant expansion up to the mid-1870s. The exports of timber, fish, and in particular maritime services achieved high growth rates as depicted in these images. Sailing vessels from Norway freighted international goods all over the world at a low cost. In fact, Norway became a major power in shipping services during this period, accounting for about 7% of the world merchant fleet in 1875. The liberalization of world trade and high international demand secured a market for Norwegian goods and services. In a different sector, textile plants and mechanized industry were created in the mid-19th century in Norway. These were the first modern large-scale manufacturing industries, and many textile stores emerged as well. Meanwhile, the Norwegian economy consisted of generally skilled and independent labor forces in the years of this boom, which ranged from 1850 to 1870s. Therefore, Norway gained economic significance due to its large increase in exports while using the resources available in order to maximize the production and consumption of goods and services. As the second segment, Norway experienced relative stagnation with industrialization from the mid-1870s onward. Large immigration numbers from Norway to North America left the country, therefore there was less labor, and this mirrored economic regression. Norway depended on exports and was controlled by the international economy. There was a contraction in Norwegian exports due to the fact that the economies of other nations worsened. Another major contributor to the regression was the transformation from sailing to steam vessels. Due to a lack of capital and technological skills, the transformation from sail to steam was very slow in Norway. The market for sailing vessels was diminishing, and Norway became an insignificant maritime nation. On the top picture, you can see a sailing vessel, and the transformation is in the bottom picture, which is now a steam vessel. Therefore, Norway experienced a period of growth and regression in the economic sector from 1850 to 1900. At first, there was exponential growth, but then there was relative stagnation.
The Bank of Norway was founded in 1860, but was established as a commercial bank in 1860. From that period on to the present, 20 minor branches of the head national bank were formed. 10 state banks and other financial institutions serve particular industries or undertakings, including agriculture, fisheries, manufacturing, student loans, mortgages, and others. By the 1870s, banks were well developed, and the banking industry was safe. As well as the head regulatory authority is known as the BIC, Banking, Insurance, Security, and Commercial. There are two types of banks in Norway. There's a savings bank, and there's a commercial bank. A savings bank is a bank that focuses and invests on the savings of depositors. A commercial bank is a bank that is focused on the financial aspects of businesses. Below, there's a picture of the National Bank of Norway. This picture was taken around the 1880s. And this was the National Bank. So you can imagine how small the state banks were in comparison. Ultimately, during this era, the banking industry expanded, while the Norwegian economy contracted. A major aspect of both types of banks were loans, as both people and businesses needed them for specific situations. The bank discounts treasury bills and some commercial paper, which are both needed for loaning. The bank also receives money for deposit on current account, but generally pays no interest on deposits. This is very unlike many current banking systems. It was only possible to take a loan under your own name or have a signature from someone else, granting you the ability to take a loan from someone else's bank account. You can begin to see how this relates to Nora and how she tried to make a deposit. Today, many people cannot afford to buy some expensive items of value, so they just take out loans. But back then, this would have been considered unimaginable, as debt was disastrous. The banking industry was also not fully trusted. There were many changes in the banking system from 1840 to 1900. The riksdollar, based on silver, was adopted as Norway's currency in the 1840s. During this period, many new state banks were formed. In 1874, they changed the silver currency of the riksdollar into the gold currency of the krone. The image below is one of an old Norwegian krone. I think it is interesting how it has a hole in the middle, as not many coins have this. Krone means crown, which further symbolizes Norway's leadership in the Scandinavian areas. With the transition from the riksdollar to the krone, Norway could exchange money internationally, giving its banks yet another role in maintaining the monetary coin value. This also united them with many other Scandinavian countries. This improved trade and thus also improved foreign relations. Ultimately, the establishment of the krone made Norway a richer nation. The banking industry gained significance over time and required more employees and leaders like Torvald to sustain Norway's up-and-coming industry.
Torvald's occupation at the bank was management role. He had several duties that were included with his occupation and job. At first, promoting and marketing the branch and its products played a major role. You can see this in the picture at the top left. Meeting with customers and resolving any problems or complaints was another duty. Additionally, ensuring there's a high level of customer service had to be done by the management role. Furthermore, Torvald had to report to a head office of another bank or his own bank. Being a bank manager in Norway was considered an upper-class job, and it is still today. Torvald had a large salary, but great responsibilities due to the full establishment of the banking industry. Depicted in this image are different monetary values. Many historical figures, such as kings and queens, are shown on these Norwegian banknotes. In reference to the image, the picture shows the transformation of Norway from a Viking nation to a new and industrial nation, as the currency depicts figures from the modern history of Norway. Banking managers had and still have a heavy workload with inconsistent work hours. Torvald works on the days surrounding Christmas while preparing for his new position as the bank leader. This shows how laborious Torvald's role as a manager is. Finally, with the change of silver to gold currency, the banking industry had a much larger responsibility as monetary values became significant. Just as the banking industry is large today, the amount of work that managers have has remained constant as well. The character of Torvald is easy to relate to in terms of his day-to-day tasks. Norway's economy, banking industry, and Torvald's occupation leave much room for interpretation.
Why is Torvald's occupation not one of the archetypical positions in Norway's economy? Next question is, how does being a banker better exert Torvald's power? The final question is, overall, in what other ways does Norway's economy and banking industry better relate to Ibsen's A Dollhouse? These were the 3 discussion questions that we want you to consider.
And that was our presentation on Norway's economy, banking industry, and on Torvald's occupation. Thank you.